Hey, what's going on? Ladies and gentlemen, this is Open Tab. Thank you for joining us. My name is Jeff Bacalar, and I'm hanging out with Bridget and Alfred, throwing back a couple drinks and decompressing after a very busy week. I know we've all had more than enough we've heard more than enough about that Samsung Galaxy Note 7 debacle, but we're hopefully going to close the book on that right here today. And with any luck, never bring it up again, because good Lord, am I sick of this stupid story. And later on, we'll give you some talk regarding my experience with the PlayStation VR. But this roundtable, it also includes you. Our networks have been blowing up. You get it?
I got to see what you did there.
You get it?
Like the phone.
Do we have a rim shot? No? Okay. Been blowing up with feedback surrounding the Samsung headlines all week, and we figured what better platform to delve into this than this one. Find your way to the chat and comment section, and we'll bring you into the show because we really enjoy hearing from you. All right, so this week, Samsung formally killed the production of this Galaxy Note 7, ended it, chopped its freaking head off, after doubling down on their alleged hot item ticket. Now that there are roughly $3 billion in the hole, what happens next? Alfred, you've had an ear to the ground as this all unfolded on social media. What were some of the reactions you heard, that you saw, that you collected, that you gathered, that you smirked at, that you shook your head at? How did it all play out for you?
Well, it's a hot one.
Do I have to drink every time there's a bad pun?
Yeah, you have, and you at home, if you're older than 21, you have to drink when you hear a crappy Galaxy Note pun. So you're wasted already. Keep going, Gal. I'm sorry.
All right, so here are some hot takes that I've seen.
Oh, that doesn't count. You can't double up on it.
A lot of people are actually saying that they're going to keep it.
Oh, so morons.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're saying, they paid a lot of money for this, even though they can return it and get a new one anyway.
Right.
They're saying there's no device as good as this one because, this one explodes and you can't.
That's a sick feature.
No, but seriously, they're like, I did get that feedback too from some people who they want that stylus and the large phone, and they're like, well, I'll go to the Note 4. Someone wrote to me.
So when you
or the Note 5 even, yeah.
So when you hear that kind of feedback, how do you react? Because it would take a lot of willpower for me not to just start yelling at them. So how do you handle that when someone says, I'm not giving this back?
And I'm like, don't get on a plane with me.
Yeah, don't leave your house. Don't do anything.
It's pretty sad. I think people are just hoping for someone to tell them it's okay, but they know they can't.
Wow.
And also, it's a headache to return it. Have you seen this fireproof box that you have to get from Samsung to ship it back?
I love it, but that should also be
that should be the sign number one that you should probably
maybe I should bring this back. They got to have like a hazmat team dispose of my phone. Maybe I need to return it.
Yeah, you have to put it in a static shield bag. It goes in a regular cardboard box, that goes in another regular cardboard box, and then that goes in a special cardboard box that has some special ceramic fiber around it, and they give you blue gloves to handle it because you might be allergic to the materials.
Oh
inside.
my God, listen to this. We were checking comments, and Tim says, I would keep mine, but not getting updates for the next 2 years and no warranty support changed my mind. Hey Tim, what about catching on fire? Does that change your mind? God, he's like, I'm not going to get updates on my phone. What about you're going to die, perhaps?
No, some people that I heard, they had some really funny reasons for when they deciding to return it. Where essentially, I was going to keep it, but then, I realized I wouldn't be able to get in some public places with it. So that's why I'm going to return it. It's a valiant reason. He's thinking about other people now. But my whole thing is okay, so if you could go to all these places, you still would have kept your phone. It wasn't about, this could blow up and hurt people. I can't go to the library. What's going on here?
Samsung doesn't know what's wrong, though.
Yeah,
I mean, what makes you think you know more than Samsung? Oh, I'm sure I'm fine because nothing happened yet. Well, they don't even know what's going on.
It really, I get it, right? But it's not like you're just, it's an inconvenience for sure. But the thing you have is dangerous potentially. And it could hurt you or your family or the people you love or your house or strangers. Or everyone?
You know,
or all of the above?
I'm sure all these people keeping their Note 7s are just riding along in their hoverboards.
Yeah, seriously.
To their
Ride
Ford
that
Pintos.
hoverboard right out of my face. Because that's what they're doing, right? That's who these people are. Is that what we're saying? Many people are at a loss as to what to do next in the fallout of the recalls, the refunds, and the huge... I mean, it really must be a gigantic pain in the ass to go to a store and pick out a new phone for free. That must be terrible.
And to get
paid $100 to do the whole thing. Oh, you poor people. Cry me a river. Let alone... Look, I mean, I understand you're out a Note 7. It was a good phone when it used to not blow up, right? It used to be okay. So what would you do about replacing it? What phone would you get instead? What would you guys pick up in replacement of the Note 7?
There's all these people that are saying, you know, the Note 7's so great, it's the best phone ever. And it's just, you know, if you want a phone that's very close to it and doesn't explode, very cool feature, by the way. You should get it checked out.
That.
The Galaxy S7 and S7 Edge, granted, they're not the same phone, but they're like 75% of the same phone.
They're there.
Yeah, and they also don't blow up, so that's like an extra 20. That's extra credit. That's 25 points right there.
That's a nice.
So,
but they need a really big phone, guys. They want a really, really big one.
I can't. Like, I even like. How do you even put that in your pocket? Like,
you don't.
I
mean, I have a big phone. My phone's probably the size of the Note 7. It doesn't have a stylus. I feel like that's what people are really all about, is a stylus.
Yeah, personal preference, I'd get the Pixel phone if I'm like sticking to Android, which a lot of people.
I think that's a solid recommendation. Yeah. I mean, you know, Google's like seeing all this happening. They're like, yes, continue to burn.
My favorite emails have been the ones where it's like, I think that Apple and Google conspired to make the Note 7s explode because they were scared.
I love a good conspiracy
and
theory.
I'm like, oh yeah?
We do not endorse the conspiracy theories of Mr. Alfred Ing.
That's not my theory.
We do not endorse this. We think,
it's not. I got emails about it, and I'm just like, oh yeah, that's what happened. They like purposely, like Google and Tim Cook and Google just snuck into the factories. Like, all right. Okay, that's it.
We need a couple of these to explode. See what you can do. Moving along, Levan on Facebook says, well, I'm trying to turn in my Note 7 to Verizon. They want taxes and fees in order to get me to get the new device. I already spent over $200 on getting the phone with paying off my old device early, then the rest of the taxes and fees, so I guess I'll be rocking the Note 7 till it blows up. Guess what, Levan? That's a real terrible plan you got there. Just return it. I feel like they're going to make this right.
You get your money back on all the things you paid for, including taxes, and you get like at least a $25 credit, even if you say I don't want Samsung anymore.
Right. You could even you can
go to iPhone.
You can pivot to an iPhone. They'll give you $25 to get an iPhone.
So you get
$25.
I mean, but
you're
netting $25. Like,
you get like a case with that.
Sure,
and
that's fine.
And you can also get returns on your accessories of the Note 7 too.
Right.
And the easiest way to return it is if you went to a carrier. It is a pain if you have to go through Samsung in that special box. But at least, Verizon's kind of making it a pain too. They're saying go online and we'll send you one of those special boxes.
I kind of want one of those boxes now. Like, do I have to prove that I own a Note 7 to get a box?
Yeah, you need an order number. I tried.
Because
you just want to collect those boxes, huh? Those
you never know. You might need
I thought about like just
box.
collecting the Note 7 from, it's a collectible item now. They're not making it anymore. It's very rare.
It is a rare item.
Literally just buy one and turn it off so it can't explode.
I wonder if it'll make its way into some sort of like technology museum.
It's gonna end up in like one of our backgrounds.
Yeah, one of the set dressing shelves.
As a relic.
It's like the Ford Pinto of.
It is. I don't think there's ever. Let's be honest though. I don't think there's ever been a device that has just been completely smashed to hell like this thing. I mean, like this is.
Have you ever been to Nintendo World?
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about
that Game Boy from.
Yes, but that was like an IED that did that or something. Like this was an actual defective product that just unbelievable. Anyway, here's actually a good point. User Typical Day reminds us that anything with flammable elements can explode. Look at Ferrari, Lamborghini, Porsche, Tesla, etc. Even some iPhones have caught fire. The only thing that matters is how a company responds to the situation. And honestly, I think Samsung's response was really quick and good, especially offering all that money to people. Have any other companies showcased such good customer support following an unfortunate event like this? Have either of us personally gone through something like this with a device or service in the past? So the first point about Samsung's reaction, yeah, it seems like they did a decent job. It's unprecedented. Don't forget, though, they kind of didn't go through the correct channel out of the gate. First, it was like a company-inspired recall, and then they went to the
official
the
US.
official
US
US, like.
government, yeah.
So they do catch some criticism for that, and
also
I think that's well deserved.
And they knew about a lot of incidents before they
Yeah.
even started saying that you should, do something about
So
it.
maybe on like a customer-facing level, they did a good job. But when it comes down to like proper procedure, they kind of dropped the ball.
I mean, even on the customer level, they didn't do a good job. They completely botched a recall. They got a second chance.
Right.
Where send them back, we'll send you good ones.
Sure.
And then those exploded
Yeah,
too.
can we not bring
Like,
up that
come
point?
on.
No, they didn't do a good job at all. They
Yeah.
recalled the device and gave you back a broken one.
The problem is that they were essentially best guessing the problem, going,
Right.
oh, it's from that manufacturer of batteries. We'll just get the batteries from this place instead.
Yeah.
And it still happened. So it's not, it's more, we need to know the answer, what happened.
For sure. And to your point, do you think this now leads to a new sort of regulatory sort of thing when it comes to batteries and products and stuff like that? Like someone said before, like everything has a battery in it. Like this phone could blow up tomorrow, and anything that has a lithium battery in it is potentially combustible. So
Expect more paranoia on flights.
yeah, I guess, right?
I think it's too isolated of an incident. I mean, if every phone it was happening, I mean, this is the only Samsung phone it's happening with
Right.
so far. But if it was a whole bunch of Samsung phones,
Sure.
iPhones it was happening with, then
Well, at least like the quality assurance, the testing.
well, no, yeah, they definitely need to fix
There's
that.
something going on
Yeah.
there, right? Okay, we're just a little burnt out.
Oh,
on Samsung.
Jeff.
I literally
Throwing
am out of
back.
alcohol now from all this.
We're going to say goodbye to Alfred. Thanks so much for being here, buddy. Time for a quick break. When we come back, we're going to take a look at the gnarly new addition to the Anki Overdrive family on this week's episode of Joe and Tell. Keep this tab open. We'll be right back.
Are you ready for the next thing in smart race cars? I'm Dan Ackerman, and we're here taking a look at Anki Overdrive. Now, if you've heard of Anki before, that's because they brought out an earlier version of this system at one of Apple's WWDC conferences back in 2013, and they showed you an iPhone controlling a race car going around a track. Very cool stuff, but it was one static track. It was sort of a first-generation toy. This new version works with iOS and with Android, still has the same sort of remote control cards that you steer with your iPhone or your Android phone. The big difference now is the track is completely modular. You can buy this starter kit here for about $150 that includes 2 cars, a charger for the cars, and a bunch of different tracks. You can buy extra track pieces, and you just put them together like this. They snap together magnetically, and then you can take them apart and put them back together any way you want. There's all sorts of shapes you can make. Now, hidden under the pattern here is some code that the cars see. You can't see it, but the cars see, and that lets the electric eye in the cars see where the track is, stay on the track, and not go flying off anywhere. So you don't do too much of the steering. The cars do that automatically. When you're using the iPhone app, what you do is you shift the cars from one side to the other. You can control whether it's on this side or this side like this, and also acceleration, whether it's going faster or slower. Go around a turn too fast, you could zoom right off. And of course, the cars, you can get up to 4 of them going at once. They can race against each other. They have weapons built in that you basically use by tapping a button on the app, and that causes the other cars nearby to sort of short out or spin out of control or get damaged, so you can zip past them. You don't actually see them shooting at each other in real life. Maybe that's the next version of Anki. Setup is super easy, especially when it comes to putting the tracks together, getting the app going and installing all the phones that you're going to use and getting everybody into a game together. That's a little bit more complicated, a little bit of a learning curve there. And I feel like most of the time you're going to want to skip most of the game modes and just do straight free racing with your friends. That seems like what this is built for. Now, if you want to get more involved with this and get everybody playing and build a very elaborate track, a little bit of investment is involved. This base kit here is $150. You can buy extra track kits, and they break down to about $10 per section of track. And you get 2 cars here. If you want to buy more cars, there are a couple more available. They're $49 each. But once you put it all together, you get everybody around, race around the pool table like we did. That is the Anki Overdrive.
All right. Well, don't sit on
For those not familiar with Anki Overdrive, it's a smart racetrack where you control the vehicle's speed, weapons, and lane changes from a supported iOS and Android device. You can race against the cars in AI mode or against a friend with corresponding sound effects playing from the device.
So here we have Ground Shock, which is my favorite one. And here we have Skull. I don't like Skull. It makes me feel like a bad guy.
Today, I'm here to introduce one of the newest additions to the Anki Overdrive family. It's the X52 Super Truck. Designed by Hollywood car designer Harold Belker, the X52 has a pulse ram where, if used at the right time, can blast opponents off the track. This is all done by dedicated flashing lights and not some space-age laser show, possibly in a later generation. The trucks are a little more pricey than the cars at $59. With these new trucks come a new game mode, Takeover.
Once you put the truck on the track, you have that game mode. After you scan the track, you have to chase the truck. One of the opponents have to weaken the truck. Whoever weakens it the most gets to control it.
In Takeover, players start each match in their chosen supercars. Anyone that can break through the super truck's defenses will take control of the vehicle to wreak havoc on their opponents until the other player disables them and takes command of the super truck.
So pretend I'm Ground Shock, and my father is X52. So I'm blasting him. Pew, 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 pew. There's my daddy. Knock you off.
Hey, thanks Joe and little JoJo in that video. All right, we're back, still hanging with Bridget, and welcome, and a big welcome to Mr. Scott Stein.
Hi.
Who's here in the flesh,
Nursing a hot tea.
nursing a hot tea because he's a bit under the weather, but not under the weather enough to be here, which we
Sure.
appreciate, sir.
It's a good balance.
It's a good balance. He's a good man. Scott and I got to check out PlayStation VR last week and the week before that. So let's talk about PlayStation VR.
Yes.
This is a thing that needs discussing.
And I have lots of questions.
So have that. So okay, let's first do like a little sort of intro thing.
Sure.
I think for the most part we kind of like it. Considering all you need to run it is a PlayStation 4.
Yep.
There's 45 million PlayStation 4s in the wild. That's a lot, which means all those people who own them only need to spend about, well, you need to kind of spend $500 after that to get it all up and running.
Yes.
But that's about it. And when you compare it to the other VR options out there, the higher end stuff, it's cheaper, significantly cheaper. So I think if you're looking at it like that, sure, this is the VR to get if you want VR.
If you want VR,
If you want to
a
do
thing
that.
to play with that is a VR that gives
Right.
you that experience with the helmet on your head.
Right.
And enough things to do with it that are different than what you get with your phone. Because the phone stuff, you just turn your head around. And that's interesting. But PlayStation VR looks better. And also you can grab things with the controllers.
Right.
A
That's
little
important.
more, yeah, it's a little more holodecky. It's not full, that's one of the complaints. It's not really full holodecky. And I can explain that in a sec. But
Yeah. So I think if you're
Halfway.
looking at it from specifically technical point of view, you can't argue that HTC Vive is certainly the best we can do right now on a consumer level.
Vive is the best.
Right.
But it hit a goal that I think is going to get eclipsed sooner than later.
Okay, what do you mean?
Well, yes. In terms of tracking the maximum amount of space right now, like
Sure.
you got like 15 by 15 feet.
Right.
That is great, and the fact that you can track motion very well, that's great. What Oculus is going to do with its touch controllers in December is kind of like that. But it's not going to have as much open space, and you're going to need 3 of those little camera
So
stands.
you're setting up a little bit of a production.
Yeah, so how does this
Yes.
like translate to like you got the coffee table at home and you're in a tiny New York apartment? Like
Yeah.
how does this
You got to clear the decks
Yeah.
because otherwise you're going to hit this. And Vive does have you draw space, but it doesn't have object detection to help you. So it's not like if a dog comes running into the room, the Vive is not going to smartly alert you with a dog skeleton glow that
Yeah.
the object is in space.
Which
watch
would be
out.
great. Hey,
It'll be
Bridget,
awesome.
you see this?
Yeah.
See this, Scott? See this, everybody? That's how many times I've stepped on my dog in PlayStation VR.
No.
Yeah.
That and kid injuries in general worry me. I mean, PlayStation VR and those types of systems are supposed to be 12 and older.
Right.
So you shouldn't be getting this for your young kid. And there's a lot of cables. So it's also the tripping.
Yes.
Plus the not knowing where things are
We
in
have a
your
rule.
space.
We already have a rule in the house where like no VR until the kid's sleeping.
Yes.
Because they're just another obstacle, just waiting to get all tangled up in the VR mishmash.
It's a personal thing, and it's best to do on your own terms where you're the only person who could get injured.
Well, how many
Yeah.
games are having you walk around? Can't you just sit on
Well,
the couch and do it?
So
Mostly.
it's a good
Yeah,
point you
that's a
brought
very
up.
good
So like PlayStation VR, most of the games you can sit down. I think there's a few that really work the best if you're standing.
Yes.
But for those ones that are standing, they're really fun, and you want to move around a little bit. And there is a bit of a wiggle room sort of window that PSVR gives you. The Vive is much more room scale focused, where it's giving you this sense of freedom in a certain allotment of square footage.
Like a
But yeah, it's tough. And to your point before, my living room area, the amount of real estate I can devote to PlayStation VR is about 28 square feet,
Yeah.
and it kind of is just enough to make it happen.
I set it up. Yeah, I
Okay.
set it up in a little corner with not, a lot of clutter around me, not much other stuff. And luckily, I found with most of these games, that is actually what I like. Is they're mostly meant to be seated, and a lot of them are perfectly fine with the DualShock controller. So I found that like almost all the launch games seem to be fine with that. The moves seem very much like a specialty item, which you would want to have.
Sure.
But like, I think you could play most of the best games right now with the DualShock, and so I like it seated. It's also PlayStation VR is very loosey-goosey with the idea of what you need space-wise.
Right.
So when it sets up, it kind of just looks at you, and you get an awful selfie of yourself in your underwear or whatever you're wearing with your VR helmet. Or, it could be underwear, it could be not. I'm just saying that's what
It
I
could
do.
be anything.
That's
Not
what
that
I do.
Scott's already done it definitively, without a doubt.
I'm
played
on record
VR
in saying
naked.
sometimes I'll play VR in my underwear. But, you will get a terrible selfie
Yeah.
from that camera angle going,
Sure.
Are you okay in that space? Everything good? And you kind of just put your head in the center, and that's it. So your awareness of, well, what does that mean? Others will tell you, clear this much space, and they're just like, oh, just go.
Right.
And when you're out of the space, it just blacks out.
Yeah, it's weird.
Which
You
is a
kind of
little
just
weird.
fall off the face of the earth. You had other
And
questions.
it tells you to
before,
please
right?
go in the middle.
What were you?
I'm not sold on VR as much.
Because you shouldn't be.
Okay, but
You and Tim
mainly
Cook.
because me and Tim Cook.
Well, Tim Cook's not sold on anything till he makes it himself.
Right, it's the classic, we're not doing it, but then we're doing it.
We're not doing it yet.
But here it is.
My big thing is I get nauseated.
Nauseous works, yeah.
After more than, I don't know, it depends on the kind of game and what it's doing
Yeah.
and how well it's rendered. But I can't play for a long time. So all this investment for something that, like, these are games. What are they expecting you
For
to
nausea.
play?
No one's
Yeah.
ever looking at it like
A
that.
lot for
Like,
nothing.
hold on. Can I give you my wallet and give you $800 to make me feel ill? Can I do that?
Yeah, like does it come with Dramamine?
It should.
doesn't.
So
It's a lot of money for nausea.
It is a lot of money for that. I have yet to get nauseous until Friday night.
What'd you play?
Last Friday night, I played 100-foot robot golf. and blah, 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 that's what I felt
Can't they
like.
have games where it's like, put on the helmet now for this one level, and then you take it off
It's
and you
not
go
that
on?
easy. You got to put the thing on. It doesn't look right until you adjust it for a good 15 to 20 seconds. I mean, there's a lot of jankiness going on there. It is not perfect.
Jeff, jankiness.
Yeah, jankiness. That's my quote. Put it on the box. Like, janky as F. I mean, it's just weird. Like, it is not perfected. We are, judging by the 3 mainstream full high-end VR things out there, we are not there yet.
Okay.
You have a long way to go. And this
do.
tech, the way it currently looks, is going to transform massively. Not just the size or the price, but the way the tech works. People are going to go wireless with this stuff. They're going to start trying to make things that aren't as bulky headset-wise. They may start having eye tracking. This is totally one step. So that means, yes, you, cutting-edge VR person, are you going to buy this and be set? No, you're going to have things next year and the year after that you're going to want to get to. So,
yeah,
you got to be careful. Pick your point. It's basically like a way to get there. I think if you're VR curious, but you're
I like that.
Put that on a profile.
put that out there on the
I'm looking.
social.
I'm VR curious.
VR curious, looking for. If you're that person, just get a phone-based one.
Yeah.
You know, get.
Or maybe
Samsung-
check out the Daydream thing that's
Yes,
coming
Gear
out
VR
soon.
is great. Has tons of apps.
Yeah.
With good non-exploding Samsung phones.
Right.
And then you can get Daydream, which we don't know how many apps there will be, but it certainly looks promising.
Yeah.
And they're like $80 when you already have the phone.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like this one is PlayStation has enough games that I feel like if you bought it and you knew what you were in for, it would be worth getting. But you got to know that it's eventually possibly going to sit on your shelf.
Right.
It's something you may not use all the time.
It might happen.
Yeah, it may happen.
Yeah, like
Be comfortable with that.
in the review, the last sentence is basically like, I might still be in the honeymoon phase with this, and it's kind of true. Like,
Yeah.
It's so,
all
it's
weekend,
so novel.
I got home and I'm like looking at the damn thing, and I'm like, I don't even know if I want to put this thing on right now. Without a doubt, and I can definitively and confidently say this, I would much rather be playing a regular video game than doing the VR. You can't play it for more than a half hour, 45 minutes anyway. It's just too much.
And that's what I mean. Yeah.
And that's not me like being like, damn you. I'm not trying to be old man Jeff playing VR. It is too much for any human.
VR is, you got to suit up for it.
Yeah. You got to strap in.
And in about a year and a half now of using VR in various forms, I never can say that I use it every day. It sits there.
Yeah.
And then I think
Lot
about
of
visiting
sitting.
it, and I feel like that never changes.
It gets lonely.
Oculus, Gear VR, yeah. You go, oh, it's there in case I want to look at it. And that is the criticism of it. That's also kind of what it is. And I agree. You are buying a kind of a novelty, but at least getting on board, especially if you have all the gear, like you may have a PlayStation camera even. If you're like that super PlayStation person, then it's almost like,
It's a reasonable sort of, splurge, I think.
Yeah. But it is way early days.
It's early.
It's fun to be early though sometimes.
It is fun. You know what? If you got a lot of roommates, if you have like 5 roommates, chip in, go get one. But for someone who's like, I need the latest and greatest, maybe you pump the brakes a little bit and see what happens in like a year or two.
Yeah, I think it's okay to wait.
Yeah.
I think this one is probably the best state. I'm really curious though what happens with the PC stuff, because I feel like it's going to start being available on a lot more systems.
Sure.
So if you have a PC at all, know that, or Oculus already talked about this, by this time next year, I bet you're going to be able to hook it up to a huge number of PCs.
Yeah.
And possibly, I mean, we're looking at the Xbox also as something that's going to be, the Scorpio is going to be VR connected.
Yeah, don't forget about that.
So so that's another thing. If you're a console person, maybe wait and look at that, because Microsoft's super hooked into possibly Oculus, and so you're going to have more options. So don't be like, you get this now and be like, but wait, you didn't tell me about all these things. And I think that there's going to be a lot more weird stuff, like things that are kind of a hybrid, things that might feel like a phone thing, but also have this.
And not just games, right? Like,
No, the porn industry is going to make it take off.
Oh, they're already there.
PSVR is the worst for porn, I would say. Really hard
I think we can leave it at that.
Yeah.
PlayStation VR, the
Just
worst
know.
for porn. All right, we got to wrap it up. Thanks so much for joining us this week. Thanks to Scott, Alfred, Bridget, Mike and Brian in the control room over there, we loved hanging out with you, and we hope you liked hanging out with us. You can keep the conversation going in the comment section below. Tweet us at CNET OpenTab. Drop us an email at opentab@cnet.com. We're looking for some new recipes for our geeky cocktails since we couldn't come up with any of them this week, mostly because they've all made us sick so far. Have a solid weekend. We'll catch you people next time on Open Tab. See you soon.